speakers from the Department of Defense. We have Ms. Cindy Elliott and Mr. Lawrence Johns. And so what I'm going to ask them to do is, again, I need all of you all to have cameras on, because I'm sure they want to see your faces and not read the names. And so what I want them to do is kind of introduce themselves to the entire group, just so you'll know who they are, what they do. And then what we're going to do is kind of break out into two different spaces. Ms. Elliott will have the young ladies, and Mr. Johns will have the gentleman, just to be able to kind of talk to you all about whatever they have to present. So I'm going to open the floor to them and let them introduce themselves. I'll start with Ms. Elliott.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Elliott. As Dr. Cobb said, I work for the Department of Defense. Specifically, I work for the Defense Health Agency as an information technology program manager. So pretty much healthcare IT systems that, that's used within the healthcare field. I went to Virginia Tech undergrad, got a BS in industrial systems engineering with a minor in sociology. Worked for a few years, and then I went to Johns Hopkins University and got a master's in business administration with a concentration in management. And then worked in private sector, so with telecommunications, so Nextel, Sprint Nextel. And then kind of got tired of that and decided I wanted to see what I could do for the government. So went for Department of Defense, went in as a contractor initially. And what that means is I worked for another company that supported the government, and then eventually decided to actually become a government employee. Come January, I will have been a government employee for 10 years. So I've enjoyed it so far. So happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Lawrence Johns. Everyone calls me Lonnie at work, my nickname. I'm currently a senior architect and design manager for the NAVFAC, which is Naval Facilities Engineering Command, which is part of the Department of Defense. So we have about 21,000 employees all over the country, all over the world. It's in different branches, civil service, military, all part of this 178-year-old organization. So like I said, it's a pretty old company. I've spent most of my time as the design manager and architect at this particular company. But I currently live in Norfolk or Virginia Beach, and I work at the Norfolk, which is the largest naval base in the country, in the world. So to a little background on myself, I went to Virginia Tech, and I had the privilege of knowing Dr. Cobb. Y'all call him Dr. Cobb. I've been knowing him as Rob all my whole last 30 years. And we actually were in different fraternities, and we stepped against each other back in the day. So I've known him. I had some stories. That's for another time. I won't get into those stories on You're a Professor. But yeah, I started in the private sector of a company called Bell Services, which was a predominantly minority drafting company. So I did work with them for about 5 years. Then I went to another larger architecture firm called Hasty Matter to Matter for about 10 years. And now I've been working with the Department of Defense for about 10 years. Well, actually 11 years. So yeah, I can get more into some of the things we do as an architect when I do my breakout sessions, but that's about it for now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you both Ms. Elliott and Mr. Johns for those introductions, and thank you again for taking out the time to talk with the students. So what I'm going to do here, give me a few minutes to make sure I've assigned everyone to the appropriate space. And I think, well, what I will do also is if you have something that you want to share, again, this is totally on you of how you interact with the students. The idea is they will be interacting with you. So they may ask you some questions. You can ask them some questions, but I want want this to be kind of interactive between you all. So I did make it where I think you all should have the ability to share your screen. So if you do need to do that, you have the ability to do so. So give me a few minutes to not botch up this technology and make sure that people are in the right places.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Rob, let me know when you want ready for me to start.
Yeah, it's on you. You got it.
All right. All right. Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Lawrence Johns. Like I said earlier, I'm an architect for the Navy, work for the Department of Defense. So I have a few questions that Rob had sent me. I'm going to go down the list and maybe answer a few questions, but feel free to jump in anytime and interrupt me if you want. If you have some question you want to follow up on while I'm still talking, that's fine with me. It's wide open. But
Okay.
Miss Elliott, I think everybody's here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Cobb. Appreciate it.
So since this is ladies' room, I'm gonna step out.
You can stay because maybe you can take some information back to the men so they'll know how to act.
That's a good point. All right, so I'll hang out for a minute.
So with that said, so I asked Dr. Cobb to last year I spoke to this group, and I'm not sure if some of you were in this group last year, but in my career being in a STEM profession, I've experienced some things, I guess, over the last year being a woman in a STEM profession. So I matriculated through Virginia Tech in the 90s. I don't even know if some of you were born then, but it was different then. But as I've come to learn, even in 2021, it's still different being a woman in a STEM profession. And I don't say that to scare you. The reason why I'm here is hopefully to motivate you to go through the process of becoming a professional in a STEM career, whatever you choose. And there are different careers that you can have. So, mine is not as technical as one may think it is. As a program manager, it's more of the business side of a STEM career. So I manage engineers, I manage program managers. I also manage a team of what we call multifunctional folks. So everybody has a position that they play. So there are folks on there that deal with the finance of the project. There are people that deal with cybersecurity. Are you all familiar with what cybersecurity is? Okay. So people manage that. And just a group of folks that do different things. So that's why I'm here today, is just to motivate you all. But I also wanted to have set up a dynamic in a situation where we're free to talk as women what it's like to be in this type of field. So with that said, I'm just going to share one slide with you that pretty much depicts, the road that I took and the decision that I made to get into a STEM career. Are you all able to see that?
No.
You can't? Hold on. Let's see, what did I do wrong? Let's see. Oh, share screen. That's what I have to do. Okay, now can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good deal.
Yes.
Perfect. So when I started out, whether it was, elementary school, middle school.
how much you guys are aware of what, as far as the elevation drawings, section drawings, different things that we do, tools we use to convey our ideas to the client. So as architects, we are behind all of that. We ensure that the A&Es, the yeah, pretty much we ensure that the client is overall happy with our designs. One thing I do with the government is we actually hire architecture firms to work for the government. So that's a key thing. We do our own architecture drawings and plans, but we have so much work. Sometimes we hire certain firms throughout the country to do work for us. And so as we do a project, we might give one company $170 million worth of work. And then we, as they do each project, we sit over and advise them and make sure that they're following our codes, our particular Navy particular codes, and we keep them straight. So that's a big chunk of what we do, is managing other firms as well as doing our own work at the same time. Just to go into some of the questions that Professor Cobb asked me to address, one thing that you might be interested in is, or it says, how did I become interested in my major? And this is kind of interesting. I started in the 7th grade. I was a good drawer. I started, this might sound a little funny, but I was drawing comic books and, within comic books, buildings and superheroes and all this stuff. So as the 8th grade came on, I was like, what can I do to do something I like drawing as a career? They asked us that in the 8th grade. So I looked up anything that you can draw and use your skills in drawing, and I saw architect. And then it was a show called, and this is way before you guys' time, called The Brady Bunch. I don't know if you guys know about The Brady Bunch, but the father on the show was an architect, Mike Brady. I'll never forget. And he had a nice house, seemed rich, had a nice family and everything. I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to try to do that. So that's kind of what put me on the road to architecture. And like I said, it was early 7th grade, but as I progressed through high school, I took a few classes in drafting. So I learned to draw, draft, use rulers, scales, everything, all those old school techniques, and to learn to draw in high school. That was one of the questions, was what are some things in high school to help me prepare for my major? Believe it or not, typing is one of the best courses in high school that I ever had. And at the time, I thought it was, I didn't really like it too much, but now you type everything, all the reports you do, searching the internet, everything, the quicker the typer, the better you are, the more efficient you are. So that got me going. Another question is, how did you prepare for your previous and current position? So in college, I went to Virginia Tech. I was taught photography, drawing. At the time I was in college, computer-aided drawing was just kind of a new thing, and most of the professors kind of frowned on it. They didn't want you drawing with the computer. They were straight by hand, all their sketching and everything. But just as I was graduating, I was able to learn AutoCAD and MicroStation. They were semi-new at the time. They were only about 5 years old at the time. So I'm not sure how much you guys have dealt with any kind of drawing programs or computer programs, but that's kind of what got me started in college. One question was give some examples of some projects that I've worked on since I've been out. And I've had some very interesting, like I said, I worked in the private field, and we worked for the government at that time when I was in the private field, but we also did several different projects, like the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. It was about a $40 million renovation. And I don't know if you guys know what that building is, but it's where the Vice President's office is currently. So I did a lot of things dealing with the White House and the Vice President's building, which is huge. But we renovated those, made them a little more secure. And another project in DC area was the Pentagon. And I know you guys, most of you guys weren't born maybe when the time when the whole disaster about the planes crashing into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. But what I did, we actually renovated one section of the Pentagon. And just as we finished it, that's when the plane crashed into it and crashed through the actual building. But some of the things we did to the building helped save a lot of lives. People were able to were protected a little bit better because certain walls we built were a little more up to code at that point. In that particular section, we actually got paid to redo it again. So that was one interesting project I had for the government. I've done some stuff with the Smithsonian Institution, like the Mammals Hall building. We do a lot of renovation to those projects. And every few years you get, they need upgrading and new exhibits. So in the private world, I was able to get into those type of buildings. So as you become an architect, if you decide you can stick in education and just do buildings, fixing up schools or making new schools, or you go into industry and technology, I've done some buildings that deal with explosives and things for the military. So anything dealing with technology, you can go into that field. They have offices and interiors, so you can do office buildings. So I've had the privilege to be able to do several different types of buildings all through my career. Some people like just doing one type, so they might be sitting doing buildings all their life, renovation to buildings or new buildings. That might be their choice. I've done some buildings in the justice system. So I've done some renovations to prisons, and actually a brand new juvenile detention center in Virginia Beach. I worked on that. So that was interesting. So me personally, I like doing different types of buildings. It keeps me energized. I'm not bored. I'm not sitting, doing one building for 20 years, one building style. So being able to do different buildings is fun to me. I mentioned education, Smithsonian. All right, so getting to a few other questions, and let me know if you guys got any other questions yet. But another question that Rob asked was, what challenges have you faced as a minority in your field? And me personally, as a minority, getting started I was generally, the only person in the room that looked like me. It was sometimes a little rough, sometimes it was a little fun. It was a mixture, but I made sure I kept who I am, but I also wanted to learn more about these other cultures just to blend in a little bit and be more relaxed around these other individuals. So certain activities I did personally, this is just suggestions to you guys. I just kept myself wide open. I learned a lot of things like golf. This is after college, so I played golf. I was on a softball team for companies, basketball team, so a lot of sports, but you interact with your coworkers on a social level outside of the office. So after they're fine and comfortable with you outside of the office, they see you doing things that they like and you're all doing stuff together, working together in the office, it goes a lot smoother. So that's just a little simple advice I would say to you guys. Just be as open as you can, try to learn as many things as you can. Don't be stuck in yourself, introverted, not speaking out when, if somebody calls on you or anything, try to be a little more outspoken. One question is, describe my transition from high school to college. To me, in high school, I was in the top 10% of my class, like about 300 some students. I was 34 in the class. So I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the dumbest, but I had a good high school career. I was mostly a predominantly minority high school. I was mostly Black. So going into college, I went to Virginia Tech, which is a predominantly white college. So it was a little bit of a shock, sticker shock, where you might get in a class and you're the one out of, say, 50 people in the class that's a minority. But so after, just a little adjustment, it all worked out as fine, because you kind of seek out other people that look like you in your time in college. So even though, in class I was one of 50, outside of the class, hanging out, going to different things like parties or anything, there's 2,000, 3,000 other minorities there. So you don't really feel totally alone, but it was a little transition going from high school to college, had to get used to. But I did join certain organizations that kept me, like I mentioned, Black Student Alliance, Black Organizations Council. I joined a fraternity, Omega Psi Phi fraternity. It's the opposite, was one that was after Rob, like Professor Cobb. He was in he's in Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. They were one of the first. So we just stayed social. You know, they helped in training us into doing community activities. That's just just a little advice is my transition when I went into college. One question was, what did you do in college to prepare for college? I think I mentioned it. Oh, what did I do to prepare for college? In high school, I took, I'm not sure if you guys have this or not, but advanced placement classes such as English, math, and science. So I took AP classes, what they're called nowadays. I'm not sure what you guys, you may be able to educate me on that, what some of the classes.
It's still the same.
Oh, still the same, oh, good, all right. So I took those, took drafting classes, which helped, and like I mentioned, typing. I don't, that was a real quick couple of questions I asked. I mean, I tried to answer for you guys. I don't know how much, and maybe Rob, I don't want to, you know, as far as time wise, maybe I could, if you guys want to fire any questions at me real quick, I can answer a few or try to, or give you a little bit more.
Question.
Right.
How long did it took you to get from where you are from back then?
How long? Oh, to the position I'm in now. How long did it take for me to get from?
Yeah.
I've been in the field for 32 years, so it seems like it's a long time to me. But I started off, like I said, a low-level intern, architect, draft person. Then one key thing you guys should focus on if you become an architect is to get your license. So it took me about a few years to get my architecture license. And then from there, I was able to go up the ladder and positions and become what I'm doing now, which is design manager. So altogether, I've been in the field 30-some years, but as a design manager, probably about 10 years as a design manager. Any other questions?
Yeah.
One thing
I think Tyler's going to ask one.
Okay.
Yes. What are some common misconceptions that people make about architecture?
That's a good question. And Tyler, I can see the window. I don't see your face. I see a window, but oh yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah, some misconceptions is they think that all architects are filthy rich. I don't know if y'all have heard that or not, or the reverse spectrum that architects are poor. I could safely say we're pretty, I'd say above middle class. Generally, the average income after 10 years or so working in the field, maybe like $80,000. I think it's around $80,000. I think coming out of college, I thought anywhere from 35 to 65,000 range. So you might not start off too high coming out of college, but eventually it catches up and you're making a pretty good living. I've been in it. I won't say exactly how much, but I'm over the triple figure. I mean, 100,000 range. And I think I'm living pretty good. I love it. But that was a misconception that they think they see the movies. And I don't know if you guys, how many movies you guys watch that, and you notice that they stick out with me as far as architects in the movies. So you'll see all these famous architects like, let's see, Wesley Snipes and Jungle Fever and Tom Hanks and Tom Selleck and Henry Fonda and Keanu Reeves. You'll see them play all these.
What?
They play these roles as an architect. Like Keanu Reeves, he was in the movie called The Lake.
Okay,
so
I thought
people
from
like
John Wick of the
yeah,
Matrix. Never mind.
yeah, the same guy from Matrix, yeah, so and Liam Neeson, y'all might see him in the guy from Taken. He played the
Yeah.
architect. So you'll see a bunch of the movie stars are architects, and they're rich in the movies, and they all own their own business, and so that's a misconception. Sometimes there are a lot of people out that they are like that own their own business. They're filthy rich, and there are some that are working for firms. They're rich. As you go up the ladder, if you become a principal or partner, you could be making. It said I saw some statistics where you could be making more than 95% of anybody in the United States as an architect.
So, I'll talk like my sister, the sister that I mentioned. I'll talk to her and talk through some things, kind of vent or what have you. And like that network of people that I'm talking about, like I've known Dr. Cobb, gosh, since 92. So as Lonnie said, we go way, way back. So that's how I kind of deal with it. And, you find people that do similar things that you do, because as Lonnie mentioned, they're in different fraternities. Well, I'm in a sorority. So I don't know if you all have heard of the Divine Nine, which are historically Black fraternities and sororities. Even though they're historically Black, we do accept other demographics into our organizations. So those are some of the things that we do. Like this past weekend, even though I still say we're in a pandemic, my husband and I, we went to a cookout that he's in a fraternity, which is a different fraternity than Dr. Cobb and Lonnie, but his fraternity had a cookout. So we went to the cookout and, just enjoy ourselves. We'll go to concerts, we travel, and different things like that. But the key is to know when you are stressed out and to seek help for being stressed out. There have been times I've actually, this is something that we shouldn't be afraid of either. I've actually gone to see a therapist, because sometimes you do need some professional methods of coping with certain stressful situations. So. Did that answer your question? I think that was Samantha.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions?
Did you go to early college or was it like a regular public school?
I'm sorry, say that again. How do you say your name, Tamaya?
Yeah. For high school. Did you go to like a early college or like a magnet school, or was it like just a public school?
It was a public school in the country. Surrounded by cow pastures. Ain't that right, Dr. Rob? Yeah, it was a public school. It was a public school. I think the name of my school was Tunstall High School, located in Dry Fork, Virginia. And my graduating class had maybe 150 students. So small country school.
The reason why I laugh is because we come from similar backgrounds. Because I'm from Martinsville, Virginia, which is like near Henry. It's in Henry County, and so I was my graduating class was 130. No, I was 235, but that was only because we had just merged two schools together. So Danville and Martinsville are probably 30 minutes away from each other, and
30 minutes away. Yep.
Dry Fork is right on a different road.
Right. So was there a particular reason why you asked that question, Tamaya?
Yeah, because I didn't know, because some people that I spoke to when it comes to STEM careers, they're like, oh, I went to an early college or I went to a magnet school. And so I didn't know if it was like, if you went to a regular high school what had gave you that start, or if you had like extra help specifically in that subject that gave you that extra start.
Yeah, great question. I mean, that's a great question. That is a very, very good question. So it's not where you start. This is why I tell people it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So you know, regardless of what your obstacles may be or what have you, don't worry about that. You know, put yourself in these types of situations where there are folks that can kind of guide you into the direction that you want to go. The other piece of it too, I mean, I'm the youngest of 5. So my parents, I mean, my mom still lives in the house that I grew up in, and the house that I grew up in was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with a kitchen and a living room. That's it. I mean, the house me and my husband have is way bigger than the house that I grew up in with 4 siblings, my mom and my dad. So I would say it was a humble beginning, but I just never let that stop me. And my parents, the same thing. It's like, you'll figure it out. But you guys have resources that I don't know if Dr. Cobb had, but I didn't have any type of, you know, summer programs like you guys have. So take advantage of every opportunity you have. And I'm here. So, you know, like I said, my goal is to motivate more women to get into STEM careers. As a matter of fact, my entire team, so the direct team that supports me, I'm a program manager, and I have 3 project managers that support me directly, and all of them are women. I don't know if anybody at work has ever noticed that, but my 4-person team, all women, diverse women. I'm African American. There's another African American. There's a Hispanic American and a Caucasian American. So that's how we roll, and we have ourselves a good time. So I'm always here to try to promote and motivate women to get into STEM careers, and just to be that, you know, that sounding board as well, because there are a lot of women that work, they're contractors or government, and they work for other folks. And, you know, sometimes they feel like they're not being heard. And so they'll contact me and say, hey, how would you handle this situation or what have you? So yeah, Tamaya, great question, but yeah, utilize all your resources.
And let me comment. I don't know if the students have noticed that there are more women in this program than there are males.
I noticed it. Yeah. I was counting names.
Yeah, it's like 2 to 1 as far as that's concerned, and that's not by accident. You all bring a lot to the table, and that's the thing that I'm sure that Miss Elliott has spoken on it, or she will. Don't let that be the thing that kind of silence you, because we'll have men that will try to silence you. That's just being real.
That's just it. Mm-hmm.
And again, there's a way to go about doing it where you're not abrasive and belligerent, but you get your point across and let people know that you are in the room.
Right.
Because you all bring a lot to the table.
Are there any more questions? Again, we can, just us girls besides Dr. Cobb, but he's cool.
And I'm
Did you do any sports in high school?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did you do any sports? And if you did those get in the way of anything academic?
No, I am not athletic. So no. I didn't do any sports. I mean, I like to play like volleyball, things like that, but not good enough to, you know, do it on an athletic scale or on a team scale or what have you. So mainly the extracurricular activities I participated in were more academic.
But in college, when you go to school, they do have intramural sports. So it's not a situation where you got to be on scholarship and things of that nature. I played like intramural basketball and football when I was at Tech, but they have intramural sports for people who are not, on scholarship and professional, and just like to play.
You played what, basketball, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I played football one year, and then I played probably two years. We won a championship too, by the way.
Yeah, he likes to throw that part in, but anyway. Are there any more questions? I'm here for you guys, so whatever.
Yeah, anything you want to ask. I'm getting ready to leave, so whatever you want to ask, I'm getting ready to go.
Have all of that within the company itself. All those different disciplines are all in the same company. But some companies, like say if you start your own business, it might be you doing your own architecture, and you might have to hire another guy to help you out on this. So it varies if company to company. If you're in a big company that has all that in one under one roof, then you don't have to do that. Yeah, I just saw somebody, I think Rob mentioned, is contracting work out to other companies. So yeah, we might pay another company to do some of the work that we're doing at this one building. So it's just contracting. Yeah.
How do you work the environment into your field? Like, how do you work when you're building a building? How do you make it environmentally friendly and stuff like that?
Oh, that's a good question. We have certain tools that's called sustainable design. So as far as say water, we might have some water recycling where if it's raining, we take the water, put it into certain tanks, and reuse that water. They might use it to flush toilets. They might use it for irrigation. So that's one example. Some environmental friendly things as far as light, certain, we have to design buildings that have windows with certain square feet just to let enough light into the building that you don't have to use electrical light as much. And there are if you want to look up if you look up sustainability, you'll be able to see a whole list of things like that we do. Like I've mentioned before, bamboo, we might recycle bamboo or recycle materials that were thrown away just to keep it. Yeah, Rob mentioned has LEED. LEED, leadership in energy design, is one tool. It's an organization that helps make sure that we do a building as sustainable as possible. So it's a checklist, like did you have 90%, how much energy did you use? And versus a normal building, are you trying to use a little less than a normal building? So yeah, that's a long topic in itself. I could go for a long time talking about LEED and sustainability. There's green globes, which is similar to LEED. The Department of Defense, we use all of that. We use LEED, green globe in all of our buildings. They have certain ratings: silver rating, gold, platinum. So it depends on how many of these little tools and tricks you use to get your building nice and sustainable. Your building earns a certain level.
My LED lights.
No, that LEED, what he's talking about with LEED, that's an organization that, again, as Ed was asking his question, there's some rules that are set in order for a building to meet a certain certification in LEED. So, yeah, so that's a different type of what you're speaking of.
I see. Thank you.
The lighting, yeah, that's different.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that clarification, Rob. I'm trying to think. Also, well, dealing with LEED, like I said, there's a couple of topics like energy efficiency, water efficiency, materials efficiency, and indoor environment quality. So kind of like indoor environment quality is how well we're filtering the air that's coming into the rooms. So people aren't breathing, volatile paint finishes and everything. So we kind of choose certain paint, and there's certain things we do to try to make it a little more friendlier for people to survive in the building. Yeah, any other questions?
Wait, one.
Oh, and Rob, just let you know, I'm probably gonna have to bail out in a little bit, but yeah, I still have room for a little bit more questions if anybody has anything.
I have one. What are the dangers of being an architect?
You said, what are the dangers of being an architect?
Yeah. Like, wait, hold on, I think I got that wrong. Ah, wait, that's different group, but no, wrong. Never mind.
Yeah, I didn't quite hear your second question, but the text, but this part, if you mentioned dangers of being an architect, I could tell you that.
Construction work, I meant, what's this thing? No, I forget I asked.
But that is a good question, though, as far as dangers of being an architect. And it is, people think you're in the office 24/7, sitting there drawing, but no, you're actually going out to a work site. You might go out to a construction site to supervise them building your building. So you have to have a hard hat. You have to have glasses, safety glasses, steel-toe shoes as you walk on the site. There have been people that have gotten hurt. You know, there are all types of hurt. People have actually got killed. So it can be a little dangerous at times, but as long as you're following the rules, what the superintendent tells you to do, walk where he tells you to walk, then you're good to go. But oh yeah, Rob says we have time for one more question.
And so if there's anyone who has not asked one, please ask.
And while you're thinking, I hope I've been helpful to you guys. If you need me for anything in the future, any questions you might have, ask Professor Cobb and get in contact with me, or I'll be glad to answer anything you got. It's always fun dealing with young minds and guys like yourself that are thinking about, hopefully one day you might head towards this profession, if not engineering profession. But I enjoy helping you guys out any way I can.
I have a question.
All right.
What degree of college, what level do you need to be an architect?
Well, that's a good question. I took a 5-year major at Virginia Tech. So generally, you need to be either a 5-year major or a 4-year college, and then a 2-year master program as an architect. You can come out with working as you don't have to, and you need those qualifications to get your license. So that's the optimal thing to do, but you can do other things. You can come out being a draftsperson and never have your license if you so choose. Just once you get your license, that opens your world up and you can go a little higher, make a lot more money. But generally, yeah, I was a 5-year major at Virginia Tech. And I think, Rob, I guess if nobody has any other questions, then that's all I have. Hope I was a little helpful for you guys. And Rob, are y'all gonna be on any longer later on, or because I don't know?
No, this will be it. So you did great. I appreciate it so much with you taking out the time. We're all going to kind of come back into the main room. So again, and I'll thank you all publicly there as well. So just I'll go ahead and close this out.
Okay.
And in that room, and I know you may have to go. So if you do have to go, I understand.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let me leave breakout room. So I think we have everyone back. Thank you all so much. I'm hoping that there was something that was said to each of you by Miss Elliott and Mr. Johns that you can kind of take with you. One of the things that I just appreciate the time that they took out of their schedule in order to come in and speak with us and talk to you. So I would like for you all to give a visual, some kind of way, a round of applause to them. Thank you so much for your time today. And again, I told them before that as I get funding for this project, that they're going to be a critical part of my guest speaker series. So you all are on the clock. So when I send that email out to you, don't act like your email has changed. Or do you get the message? But if there's anything that Ms. Elliott or Mr. Johns would like to say before we dismiss, and I don't want anybody to leave class yet, but I know that they may have to go. But if there's anything you all would like to say to the students before we dismiss.
Yeah, I'd like to say it was a privilege to be able to speak to you guys, an honor. I'd like to thank Professor Cobb for inviting me. I hope anything I said may help you out down in the future. Ladies, sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys this time. Maybe next time I'll be able to talk to you guys as well. And if you need me for anything, like I said, contact Professor Cobb, let him know, or contact me somehow. I'll be glad to answer any questions you guys have. Because in this field, it's always kind of who you know that helps you out as you go along the way. So you know some people that are hiring, I might not know personally somebody in your field you choose, but I might know somebody that knows somebody that can hook you up easy. So once again, thanks. It's been an honor, privilege, and I'll talk to you guys a little later.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those sentiments as well. I had an awesome time talking to the ladies, and as I said in that session, I'm here to hopefully motivate you all to go into STEM profession. So please, if you have any questions or you think of something, reach out to Dr. Cobb, and he has my contact information, and I'm glad to provide further input. So, and as Lonnie said, it is also, who you know. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit my first job out of college was because of my older sister. She worked at Sprint. She knew somebody. She got me into Sprint. And then from there, it was like I took different jobs. And then, going from a contractor to government, same thing. Another friend who knew that there was a job that was open, and here I am. So yeah, use your network and consider me part of your network now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both again for doing this. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure that they do as well for you taking out the time. So thank you all so much. And
all right, thanks, Dr. Cobb. We'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Oh yes, most definitely.
All right.
All right. You're muted, Lonnie.
Yeah, do they call you Dr. Cobb or Professor Cobb?
Dr. Cobb is fine. Professor's
Hey, yeah, what's wrong with me as well?
That's too high out there.
You say they call you Professor Cobb. Look, we just call you Rob Cobb.
Right. And since y'all knew me back in that time, that's fine.
All right, but thanks. It was good meeting all of you guys. All right, bye.
Thank you. And so I don't want you all to forget about the two things. One,